Hey LAN Party gamers, this is a well overdue ALP installation guide announcing also our new version, ALP Lite, for smaller systems, smaller drives, smaller events, and DRM free. So that way you can show off demos of games that you might have played in the past, like Battlefield 2, Quake 3, Unreal Tournament, but have them be totally license free so people don't have to worry about key codes, etc. And we're going to show you both ways that you can get Automated LAN Party at your events with an installed version on this old laptop turned to Frankenstein system here, as well as on a virtual machine, which is sort of the easier way. And let's get started. Alright, the first thing we're doing is installing a copy of Windows Lite Edition on our Frankenstein computer here. This is going to be a fresh Windows installation that way. You can also use an existing copy of Windows, but we like it to be as bare bones as possible. So we're using Windows 10 Lite on this particular computer. On another computer, while the host that we're going to be using is installing Windows, we are copying ALP Lite over to a USB hard drive. After moving the USB drive over to our server, we're going to open up the install ALP Lite folder or extract it. And we're going to run it directly from the USB drive. That's because this can take up to 200 gigs of storage space, and if the computer you're on has a small hard drive, this one would work because it's 465 gigs. But if it was, let's say, only 240 gigs total, we would need another drive to copy the data over. So that's what we're going to do, is right-click on the installation batch file, run it as administrator. We might get a UAC pop-up. It's asking us if we want to scan or repair the system files. We just installed Windows, so I'm going to say no. It's telling us that we might not have enough space. That's fine. This is the light version, so we're just going to press Y. Now it's checking to make sure that PowerShell scripting is enabled, that the internet is working, and that's because it does download some programs from the internet to help us out through Ninite during the installation process. And then once it does a few things, it will only ask us for one or two prompts. We just have to pay attention to those and hit yes or OK, and then it will continue with the installation all on its own from there. As the installer continues, it's going to detect whether or not you need C++ libraries that are going to be needed for some of the servers and services, as well as ASP, .NET, etc. And it will automatically install those to where they need to go in your Windows. One of the prompts that you're going to get is to install the Unreal engine. This is for the Unreal Tournament games to run, so we do have to accept that. Unfortunately, I was not able to make this automated. And then once that installs, it will go back to its regular programming. Next, it's going to be looking for certain programs that are required for the web browsing aspect of ALP, or the web server aspect of ALP, etc. And if it doesn't have them installed, it will go ahead and install them, like Notepad++, WAMP, Firefox, etc. After it installs Python, it'll launch a separate window to install all the Python packages that we use. Python is primarily used in ALP for server queries to see which servers are being used online and how many players, etc. Once it gets to this stage, we are copying all of the files for the internal website, the game demos, etc. into the Windows environment from the USB. This is a great sign. It means that all the other operations completed successfully, and we just have to wait for this to finish. This definitely takes the longest. It's going to do it once, and then it's going to double check itself that it didn't miss anything on a second pass. And don't be alarmed, this part takes a while. It's got a lot of files to transfer, and it has to validate each one. Shortly thereafter, we're going to see it launching the MySQL service. This is our database for the website and other services like TeamSpeak, and it's going to start restoring the backup files for these SQL databases. After it goes through all of its copying and other settings, it's going to ask if we want to set the ALP desktop background. Of course, we want that, as well as auto log in to the system during boot. That is important so that the game servers launch if the server restarts. So we have to put in the password for the account that we're installing in. And then it's going to go through and update all of the game servers after that, including Java and all the Steam servers, and then finally Windows, and then restart for the first time. Once this update finishes, you should notice ALP restarts, or if it doesn't, you should restart ALP to get the programs that you've installed ready to go. We're going to go ahead and switch over to the VM installation now, and once the VM is up and running, basically they're going to be the same, so the steps we find after that can be combined. Now, if you're looking for the easy way to run ALP, highly suggest you try out the Windows Hyper-V virtual machine. You can also use the VHDX or the virtual hard drive under your own hypervisor. If you don't use Windows Hyper-V, that's fine as well. And we're going to show you how to set it up though on Windows Hyper-V. And what we're going to do first is take a look at the files to extract the actual VM itself here. So we're going to look at the ALP Lite folder here. This is the one we're installing today. And if you don't have Hyper-V installed on your computer, you can just do a search on Windows for Hyper-V Manager. If you don't see it there, you can turn it on or off using the Windows features. However, if you're using Windows 10 or 11 Home, these features may not show for you. So to make it simple, we've got enable hyperv.bat right here in the ALP, either the ALP Lite zip, which you've unzipped into ALP Lite, or into the LAN server folder here. It's got the same files here, and that will enable Hyper-V for you. So you run that as administrator, or you just double click on it. That works too. It'll launch as administrator all on its own. You then will restart the computer, and you will have Hyper-V Manager either on the desktop or, like I said, in the start menu. Now, the easiest way to do this, if you downloaded or extracted the files for this folder here, somewhere permanent on the computer you're going to be running it from, that's what you need to do. So the first step is extract this zip onto the system where it's going to be ran from. Then, under Hyper-V Manager here, we can, on the right-hand side, is create a virtual switch. And what that means is a network connection. So we're going to, on the right-hand side here, go to Virtual Switch Management. We're going to add an external virtual switch, and we're going to bind it to one of the physical ports on our system. If you have one that you don't use, let's say your computer has 2 ports, have it bind to the second one. And that way your primary port can be used entirely by your operating system, your hypervisor, and then the second one can be used for the virtual machine. You can make it shared, so if you only have one physical network jack on that device, you have to have this checked. If you don't, you can uncheck this, and the virtual machine or the virtual switch will take full control over that particular physical port. Once we pick the port we're going to use, we would simply click Apply, and we'll have a new port available. Once we've done that, go to Import Virtual Machine. Where are we importing from? Browse. We're going to go to where we extracted the files for the virtual machine here. And once we're in the folder itself, we don't have to go any deeper. We select Folder, Next, and there it is. It's going to automatically find that machine, and you can either register it using its existing ID, or you can copy the virtual machine. But would recommend you simply register the machine in place, and if it's where you want it to be, and it will automatically give you the virtual machine where it's at on the system. Once the virtual machine has been created, you'll see it on your list here. Or the other way you can do it is if you want to create your own virtual machine instead of importing the one we have for you, you can go to New, Virtual Machine, name it whatever we want. So we'll just call this one LAN Server. It can't have the same name as an existing one, so I put a space instead of a dash. As you can see, I have LAN-server here on the top right. Next. Generation 1 is fine for this case. How much RAM? We'll give it 8,000 megs. Connection, we're going to give it our 10 gigabit connection that we made earlier. Hard disk. So in this case, assuming we've already moved the hard disk from our download, we can use an existing hard disk and we can pick it. Make sure that this is going to be in a place where you are always going to find it, as in you're not going to move this later. So make sure this is where you want this virtual machine to be from here on out. So we'll just pick the virtual hard disk here. Next. Finish. It's going to create the VM. It's going to add the controllers, the hard drives, and then there's a couple more steps we have to do. So we're going to right click on here. We're going to go to Settings. Under Settings, we're going to add some CPU cores. So we're going to go down to Virtual Processors. We're going to give it a couple more processors so it has at least 4, however many you can spare. Then what we're going to do is underneath checkpoints, we're going to disable checkpoints, and then under integration services, we're going to disable backups. Checkpoints and backups, for some reason, severely slow down the server. So disabling those, you can always revert to a copy of the downloaded virtual hard drive, but disabling those greatly increases the speed of your virtual device here on Hyper-V. Apply, OK, and then we can start it with the start button right here. Okay, now that ALP is running here, your virtual machine, we're going to right click on it again and hit connect. And it's going to ask us how big of a screen size we want. I'm just going to go ahead and make it full screen. And that's going to make us act like we're at the system. We're going to go ahead and put in the same password that we used to unlock the zip file. And it's going to log in. The first thing you'll notice is it's going to have, and if you wait a little bit, it might take a moment, but the first boot is going to launch this command prompt, which will eventually launch MySQL, and then this full screen program. And you, as an administrator, get to pick which services you will use or launch upon startup of this machine every time. So, at the top here, we've got web services and homepage. That's pretty much mandatory for ALP. Without it, your users won't be able to see what servers are online, download locations, who's playing what, tournament brackets, things of that nature. And then you have the option for the game. So we've got Alien Swarm, 7 Days to Die, Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now this version here is a much shorter list. As you see, it doesn't even reach the full screen. This is ALP Lite that I'm showing you. These are all either DRM free games or freeware games or the demos of popular titles. So the version here of Battlefield 2, for instance, is the Battlefield 2 multiplayer demo. Same thing with Halo Combat Evolved and many others. Minecraft's dedicated server is the legitimate copy. Things like that, Quake 3 Arena, same thing. It's this demo of the Quake 3 multiplayer, Tribes Vengeance. They all have multiplayer demos which are DRM free. So those are what are packaged with the Lite version. They're much smaller and you don't have to worry about license keys. There will be some licensed games on here as well, but their server software is available through Steam. For instance, Counter-Strike and Alien Swarm, 7 Days to Die. And then there are freeware games like Marble Arena 2 and let's see, Scorched, for example. We also have a TeamSpeak server, and Spellbreak, which is now freeware and open source. So we can put in a Spellbreak Dominion server on that if we had the RAM for it. But it looks like we've hit our max here, so I might have to take off one of these 7 Days to Die, for instance. That takes a lot of RAM. So we'll put on Spellbreak. Oh, not quite. Let's take off that and put on Team Fortress 2. Bam. So then we can save and restart. And that's going to rename the server. It's going to give the server name we picked. It's going to put in the Discord ID we picked. It's going to restart the VM. And upon the restart, it will automatically boot the specific games that we picked from that list to be working with the LAN so that people can join them. Now that we're back in the restarted VM, or the restarted ALP instance, give it a minute here and the auto start sequence will boot up. It updates our IP address in-game with all of the IP addresses of real life, as well as our location here for the web server. The web server then boots up, and that's important so that we have the real-time clock working. The web server will have the correct times and dates for the server information, as well as our IP address to include in the server statistics. This is the LAN server status page. This is a Python script that launches other Python scripts within the same folder. And it will attempt to connect to SQL and then give us server status information depending on what's currently active. But it'll only work once WAMP is fully launched. Now that WAMP is open, we can see it here in green on the bottom right. We can restart this LAN server status page. And there we go. No more errors. These are all the games that were queried at one point, and it will continuously query to see who's playing these games one at a time and update the database. And as you can see, it is updating and then running every server that we pick. So we've got Alien Swarm, Counter-Strike, Marble Arena, as well as the website itself, and Scorched. So here it is updating TF2 server before it launches the game itself. There's CS2 up and running. So this script here, before TF2 launches, it checks to see if there's a port open. It skips it if it's not. It goes to the next two. It skips those if they're in use, and then it'll use the last port it sees that it's open within a specific range. That way it doesn't duplicate ports, and you can have multiple instances of TF2 running or multiple instances of CS and TF2 running at the same time. And if we just give it a minute, it'll run every one of the checkboxes that we had selected. Now let's say you wanted to have a new event here, and we're running specific games at that event, or the name of the server needs to change to, or the Discord URL needs to change to fit a new event. You can get back to that same GUI we saw earlier, and the server shortcut on the front, and then initial server setup here, and that will bring you back to where we were, where you can change the name of the servers, the Discord URL for that event, and then pick what games are being played at that event, and it'll restart the system and rename all the servers those new names. Now let's say you wanted a one-off. Oh, people really wanted to play Halo CE. This is the Halo CE dedicated server for the trial version here on ALP Lite. So if we open that up, it'll automatically give us a Halo console, which people can connect to using their client service. And then you can even see in here, there's other files where we can rename like that. Now how about a user? What would a user see if they wanted to use ALP and grab these game demos, etc.? Well, they would browse over to the name of the server you picked. In this case, we didn't change it, so it's ALP Lite. And sometimes they're going to need http:// in front of that. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And the first time anybody goes here, it kind of wakes up the web server, so it takes a moment. What you would probably want to do when the game services launch is go ahead and go there yourself, either here to ALP Lite or localhost if you're on the machine itself. And that way it can kind of pre-cache everything and get going. Once the page finally loads, we can check out everything that the website has, like downloads. In this version of ALP, we have only game demos for games that are DRM'd, like here we've got Alien VP2, OpenTTD, Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now this is going to be the drop-in to a legit copy to make sure that it can work on LAN. No cracks or anything like that. StarCraft Brood War demo, Battlegrounds demo, Battlefield 2, that's going to be the demo, etc. These are smaller packages, but they're all available here offline. If we go to servers and we go to non-Steam servers, we can see all the different servers that we are scanning for on the network, whether or not they're running, and where we can find the information. So for instance, we see Marble Arena 2 is being hosted by ALP Lite, the IP address to join it, the fact that it's dedicated, and how many players can join it. OpenTTD, there are 2 OpenTTD servers available. Last time this was scanned, and these were the users that were playing that game on the network. We've also got a TeamSpeak server running on LAN server, and this is the IP address to join it, as well as the download link to download it, and the IP address to join again. There are some games on here that are simply scanning the network. For instance, Red Alert 2 here, it will scan for Red Alert 2 games, but if we click the download link, it'll take you to a legitimate place to download the game. That way we don't have to store every one of these games. Pulsar, same thing. We can download it, but it will take us to the Steam page so that we're not distributing that on ALP Lite. Same thing for the Steam servers page. So if we go to Steam servers, we can see here Alien Swarms running on the ALP Lite server. There's 0 people, and we can hit connect, and it'll actually launch the game through Steam. And if we don't have the game, we can click this download link, and it'll take us directly to the Steam store page where we can download it from Steam directly. Some other games here, like Counter-Strike 2 or Counter-Strike 1.6, same thing. We can hit download, we can see it's offline, and we can download it for ourselves here. We can also join, see what tournaments are running at this event, what the calendar for this event is, if there's any raffles and stuff, just like a user could be on the same service. as well as if you're an administrator, you can add to these once you've logged into the administrator account. You can log in right here and then go into the administrative panel and add your calendar information, your turn-in information, etc.